And I think it's important too, because people don't like to be talked to. They want to feel included in the conversation somehow. And maybe it's not interactive. This is not a live webinar and people can't ask questions. But if you can give that sense of, we're all sitting together and the other person just happens to enjoy listening and doesn't really have anything to contribute to the conversation, that's the vibe maybe that you want to give.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Welcome into Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast. I'm Vince Quinn, and today we're talking about matching the message with the medium. And joining us for that conversation is Jocelyn Sexton. She is the VP of Marketing at Growth Acceleration Partners. Jocelyn, welcome to Future Fuzz.
Thank you, Vince. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so first off, just give people a little bit of background of what you do at GAP.
Yep. So I am VP of Marketing, and Growth Acceleration Partners is a consulting and technology services company. So we do software engineering, data science, AI, consulting, technology consulting, all kinds of great things for customers across the US. We offer nearshore outsourcing. So we have a big team in Latin America, and anything that you need engineering help with, our team can do it, especially in the new kind of AI age. And a lot of CTOs and VPs of engineering, what do you do? What are you supposed to do with this? We have a lot of really great experts that can help.
Yeah, I mean, and the answer on some level is everything, right? It's like, what do you need? Which is the beauty and the complication at times. Like I get asked that question occasionally because working with podcasts, right? People ask me, so can you do I want a podcast to do like this certain thing. And it's like, yeah, you can do that. I mean, it can be anything. You can shape a podcast for a million different reasons and different formats and strategies. And like AI is clearly the same thing. And when you look at the site for, GAP, it's just a million different things that you cover, which is great. Right? Like your opportunities, I guess, to get the word out there in the markets you can tap into and the strategies behind that. Like there's just so much to cover.
Well, and it's interesting too, because when I started at GAP about 3.5 years ago, our website looked very different and it was very focused on a few key items like software engineering and data engineering. And I think it talked about cloud services that we could do if you're migrating to the cloud, if you need a mobile app. But we only listed like 6 things that we did. And it seemed like people were kind of counting us out before even really considering us, because we didn't specifically say we can do back-end APIs or we can do data science or whatever that may be. So it's an interesting kind of harmony of showing all the things you can do, but also trying not to overwhelm people with, do you focus on anything? Because yes and yes.
Yeah, and so a lot to talk about. I mean, obviously, we'll be talking about message quite a bit here. So let's just start, though, with just really in your role with GAP, what your approach has been with content to get the word out.
Okay, so I'm a lover of content. I have a journalism degree. I've been a writer since single-digit age. Like I love content. I love reading, and I think that B2B marketing especially has found over the last 10, 15 years a sweet spot with content. I feel like content was kind of underutilized for a while, and then it was like content is king, and now we're kind of in the I don't know. We're in a weird period now where there's so much AI created content, and how do you fight against, thought, purpose, and the things that you want to get out of content. So I feel like my strategy, my idea about it is pretty simple. I think you need to have a good kind of tone and purpose. You need to have probably a branding document of some kind that says, we do talk like this, we don't talk like this. This is our company voice. And I think that's important. I've worked at some companies where part of my job was fixing that, because you could tell who wrote what when it was company messaging. And it's okay. Like you should be able to tell who wrote what if it comes from your CEO or your CTO or certain individuals at your company, but your company voice should be one voice. So I think that's important. And then what are the things that you want the content to be? Are you trying to be educational? Are you trying to be influential? Are you just trying to be interesting and showing thought leadership? Do you want people to take an action? So I think in order to be authentic in all those things, you need to know your purpose of what the content is for.
Yep.
And then I think the audience, obviously, I say obviously, but you're writing the content for somebody, and you need to think about what that audience needs. Are they, what are their pain points, or where are they in their buying journey? Whatever that may be, you need to be intimately knowledgeable about your ideal client profile and the personas that you're reaching out to make sure that you're hitting the nail on the head and getting the message.
Which is such a big thing. So I think a lot of times with content, especially when it's like smaller teams, less resources, what'll happen is it's a lot of like talking at people, and it's just, hey, we think you want this, so we're just going to talk about this thing, and you cringe there. I mean, for YouTube, you can see it, but like for listening, Jocelyn, you cringe. Okay, explain the cringe to me in that moment.
Because you can't be everything for everybody, and every piece of content is not going to hit for everybody. It would be, you don't want everything to be vanilla ice cream. Everybody likes vanilla ice cream, but very few people love vanilla ice cream. And so you need to have some vanilla, but you also need to go hardcore for certain topics, for certain people with certain needs. And I think some companies are fearful of that because marketing has become so numbers driven. Well, how many clicks, how much engagement did you get? Did this result in a sale? Maybe, but maybe not. But it could have been part of the journey. It could have been a part of the much bigger piece of the puzzle. And at the end of the day, if you did have some kind of impact on one person, then that was maybe enough. You also have to think about all the regular things like SEO, and again, kind of tracking engagement, anchoring your content to your business goals. You can't kind of go off and be crazy, but you have to be better than, I'm going to say, AI slop. Like you have to, you have to have a real point of view and make sure that your content's going to have the impact that you're intending it to have.
Yeah, and that's part of the voice thing, right? Like to go back a little bit just in saying like, hey, our brand voice is going to be this consistent thing, because it is tough and it's implicit. Like in a way, people really can't explain, if you ask the average person, why they'll feel a certain way about people's content if they're not like in it. But if the voice is changing and you really aren't getting a consistent read, then they're not on steady ground. And like that unstable voice is going to be one of those things that gets them to change and not listen. Like on the simplest level, it's almost like an album. There's sometimes where you listen to this song and it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest song ever. And then you listen to the album and it sounds nothing like the rest of the album. So sure, they got the one hit and that's why they became that one hit wonder. But it's like that nothing correlates between the rest of the work. And so I'm not coming back. This isn't what I signed up for. It's not what I expected. And I'll see you later. And that's kind of how it goes with all of this stuff.
And it has to be thematic. Like you have to have a storyline. Like storytelling is really important. It's not just individual little chunks of content. You need that thread to kind of carry you out. And I feel like most marketers know that. Like you're trying to get people through a buyer's journey. And so you do certain things at certain time. But you can't, it would feel weird if you had, thought leadership and something very serious and something detailed, and whoa, all of a sudden it's something wacky and crazy. And then we're going back to serious and detailed like that. It makes you flinch. It makes you think like, where did this come from? This is not what I'm used to. And it's sometimes it will kind of, make an impact, but not necessarily a good impact. You want to stay consistent. And maybe the consistency is that you're a little wild and crazy or that you're cheeky. But again, that goes back to your brand voice. Like there's a lot of B2C companies that have a kind of cheeky persona, which is cool and fun. There's a lot of B2B companies that are very serious and very detailed because of who their audience is. And sometimes I think that's harder because you still have to appeal to whatever that persona may be. You're not always you're not writing all the time for 20-year-olds. Like you really may be writing for a 60-year-old man who lives in the Midwest who really just cares about the the engineering details of something.
Mm-hmm. And the way they consume it, right? Because obviously, as we've talked about this part of this being like the medium, it's okay, the way you're going to get this information, the way you're going to relay it as a LinkedIn post versus a newsletter on LinkedIn versus a blog post on your website, like the length, the depth, the voice, like all of those things can change theoretically based on like the full circumstances of it. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that I think is a real challenge for people, especially again, like if you're an overwhelmed team, you don't have the resources, you're not refined with your voice, your content isn't the thing you're most comfortable with, but you know it's a thing that you need to start working on. It just gets so hard. And one of the things I tend to recommend in situations like that is do some things as a pilot and don't tell anybody. Just like do it on the back end, review these things. Is it good? Is it our voice? What is our voice? Okay, this is getting close. Awesome. And have a few things in the can so that you're not chasing, because what happens is it's, oh my God, we need to get this thing up by Tuesday. Let me just slam it out. It's Monday evening. I got to hit this deadline. And it's such a nightmare for everybody when you get into the spots.
And I think too, like I'm a big fan of Jim Collins, and he talks about bullets versus cannonballs. Totally fine, expected. Like you should fire bullets, but don't launch a cannonball before you're ready. There have been times I've been asked things like, "Oh, I really think we need to do something on TikTok." No, we're not going to do that. Like our audience is not getting technical information on TikTok, not our audience. Now, they may be on TikTok for some other reason. Maybe their grandkid is sending them something, or maybe their college football team has funny videos on TikTok, but that's not where we're going to live. Sometimes, oh, let's do video. Everybody's doing video. Yes, but is that what our audience is reading or watching? And if they are they watching a 20-minute demo that shows specifically how something works or what kind of improvement we made? Or do they need like a 30-second teaser to something else? Content that leads into content.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, hey, we're going to do the trendy, buzzy, here's what's in the news and here's our opinion on that. Like, depending on the industry that you're in, there's so many different angles, which is like in part the challenge of it, right? It content can be anything. And so at the same time, it's nothing and you have no idea where to go sometimes. And like with that frustration, what I'd love to do is simplify things a little bit, and let's talk about medium a little bit more, just from that standpoint of like, when you're thinking about message, you're thinking about medium, what are some of the things that you're considering as you're doing this kind of work of, where this stuff is going to go and what it should sound like?
I think it's fitting form to function. So you want your content to fit what that platform does. So if it's LinkedIn, it needs to be insightful. It needs to be conversational. It needs to be something that builds your credibility as a company, because they're going to get used to seeing you. The algorithm is hopefully going to push some things their way. And you want to, especially on a place like LinkedIn, it can't just be the company telling you things. You want to hear things from and about other people in your company. So you want to hear things directly from your CEO. You want to hear things from other members of your C-suite. You want to see what individual engineers are saying about certain topics. You want to hear what clients are saying. So LinkedIn has a lot of opportunity to do kind of like those oh wow moments. The website is a totally different beast. Like the website is built for SEO. The website is built for long form content. It can be. I mean, you can have short stuff too, but the long pieces you don't want on LinkedIn. You want those kinds of things on your website. And the website should never seem, in my opinion, like a gimmick. Like this is the face of your company. At least it is for us in B2B.
Well, yeah. And what do you mean by gimmick? What's an example of a gimmicky website?
I mean, I don't want to put a new offer on the website every month. Like this is not B2C, it's B2B, and you're here for certain things. So again, it should look consistent, and consistent doesn't mean the same. Consistent doesn't mean like you can't ever change it. But even as you change tiles or hero shots or stuff, it should feel like you know what website you're on. You're not like, oh, this is different. Where am I? Like it should feel like a safe place, and you know what, that you typed it in right.
Yeah.
And then different things feed to different things. So like email, I'm I'm still a big fan of email, but email is a great opportunity to be very personalized. And email can be a spot too where you kind of dig into some of the special things about your company. So your emails can be very values driven or be very specific about taking certain actions. If you've read this email and you've clicked the links and this resonates for you, let's set a meeting. Let's do this. Like, let's help you dive deeper on the specific thing that you want to talk about. And then, there are things like video where it can be very humanizing. We're not writing novels here. Like, it's hard to make a white paper just spring, like that's not what white papers are for.
Mm-hmm.
But videos, you can do so many cool things. And I really like it when companies do videos that are kind of outside the box, like where they don't even really mention their brand. I think Yeti does a fabulous job with that. They're B2C, but you can watch a video on the Yeti website. They never say the word Yeti, but you happen to see that, the guy's putting something in a Yeti cooler or carrying a Yeti cup or something.
Yeah.
And so it's, how does that build? And then I also think there are, podcasts are content. Going to events can have content elements in them. So all those things kind of have to tie together.
Yeah, and they can be so complementary and supportive, but there are adaptations that you make along the way. I mean, even from the idea of like a YouTube video. So let's say you're in podcasting, you're doing it with video being the front-facing thing, and then you're also doing the audio aspect of it. You might change the production and the intro of that show from the video version because YouTube is like, you better get right into this thing. Where podcasting, it can be a little more forgivable with the intro time and music and all that kind of stuff. So like that's a different game to play. And that's around theoretically the same content. Like it's just, it's wild what those nuances are.
And I won't name names because this is not a very flattering example, but I was listening to a podcast recently, but it was clearly intended to be for YouTube. It was clearly intended to be a video element. There's a part where the host is cooking and says things like, oh, look at the color of these carrots, or, come get a shot of this. Well, that's definitely for your eyes to see. Like, you're not hearing the color of carrots, and you're not like, and so I thought when I was watching it, I really kind of thought, ooh, that's the marketer in me. I thought, ooh, that's a miss, because I mean, maybe there are cooking podcasts and I just don't listen to them. But to me, cooking is a visual, tactile thing. And if you're saying things like, take a look at this color, maybe podcast is not what this is. Maybe this is a vlog or something.
Yeah, like that's a total miss, and it does happen all the time, because the thing they should be doing in a situation like that is, oh, and it's this beautiful orange with you know what I mean? And so like, hey, and if you're listening, and that idea, then you are including these people and it doesn't feel like they're missing anything, and that minor redundancy for the viewer is okay. But
and it's paramount. It's super important. Like that, and it's as simple as that. It's taking that one extra step of, you can't see it, but let me describe it for you. And let me use the type of language that makes you see the carrots in your mind.
Yeah, I hate to do this because it's funny in a way, but I actually just did that on this episode like 10 minutes ago. Because when you had that reaction earlier, as you just had a strong reaction right now of disbelief,
right?
Yeah, you had that like like a what? And it was like, all right, explain that. But that's it. I explained what the facial expression was, and then we got into it, because otherwise, what happens is people feel excluded from enjoying your content. And when they're listening to you, but they feel excluded at the same time, it is a barrier that you're creating, and it's harder for them to come back. And they won't. Same thing, like I said before too, with like, they're not going to be able to implicitly describe why they stopped coming back, but that's going to be one of those things that drives people away. It really matters.
And I think it's important too, because people don't like to be talked to. They want to feel included in the conversation somehow. And maybe it's not interactive. This is not a live webinar and people can't ask questions. But if you can give that sense of, we're all sitting together and the other person just happens to enjoy listening and doesn't really have anything to contribute to the conversation, that's the vibe maybe that you want to give. Whatever that vibe is, you need to be careful and intentional about creating that vibe by how you speak or how you write or what you do, so that the vibe matches what you end up producing.
Yeah. No, it's so important how it all ties together. So thank you, by the way, for taking some time and talking about all this. So it's fun to go back and forth with you about all of it. So it's been a really fun conversation. And for the people who would love to connect with you, learn more about what's going on at Gap, what's the best way to do that?
I think that I'm the only Jocelyn Sexton on LinkedIn. So that's probably
there you go. That's good.
Thanks to my parents and my husband, I guess.
Great work.
The
they
two
nailed
names.
it.
But I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and I love conversation just like I love content. So people can always reach out to me there, or our website is fairly easy to remember. It's wearegap.com, and any message you send there, I will promise you I will see it.
There you go. All right. And I've realized I've never talked about myself on LinkedIn on this show because you know what? There's a lot of Vince Quinns out there. There's a lot of them. So it's crazy. There was actually, believe it or not, when I was in high school, there was another Vince Quinn in my high school at the same time.
Oh my gosh. How big was your high school?
Not that big, under 1,000 kids.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there was another Vince Quinn, so that was crazy. But yeah, I'm Vince Quinn. If you want to know what I look like, go to the YouTube version for that because I can't really describe my face accurately. So go to YouTube, check out my face, and find me on LinkedIn. But Jocelyn, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being a part of the show.
No, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.